You know, people ask me all the time, why do you do this? Why do you not retire and read books and write fancy academic papers? And I say, yes, that is also important. But what is more important is that I was given an opportunity to read books in the first place, to engage with ideas because of the sacrifices of ordinary people. And so part of scholarship must be given back to the people in the form of public engagement. If myself was a public scholar, what we call an activist scholar or a scholar activist, who's always trying to use the knowledge that is gained from reading books, from observing people in their communities, in their society, and giving them back, in the words of a UC Kwayana, giving them back to the people as a political nourishment and by extension, cultural nourishment. That's what I'm about. It's about being that public scholar whose work is not just confined to the classroom, but that classroom is extended to the public space.
Mr. Watts, he is armed himself shots. Shots, watch it, tear gas. Light rounds. Also, I can see that.
That's the window! The man is a boxer, man. Watch your hand put in the boxer, man, to do that.
But since my cousin there, no, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me.
Right? No, you come on the East Coast.
You listen to me now.
You gotta listen to me too, man.
I am listening to
right? Now, I see you on the East Coast. The day when they get a protest of them, the next day, that's when you see one bigger heads come up to talk to my family. Right? And that's bad. If we didn't do a protest, we want to see nobody for justice. You see? I'm not holding back nothing. I'm not holding back nothing. I just need justice for my family.
Good evening, and excuse me. Welcome to this evening's edition of Politics 101. It's Thursday evening, Thursday night for some of you, Thursday afternoon for others. Wherever you're joining us from, welcome to Politics 101. Today marks 12 years since 3 brothers were gunned down in Linden. They've now become the Linden martyrs, as the people of Linden were protesting against the move by the government to take away electricity subsidies. And the police, under the direction of the present government, the PPP government of that time, moved in and murdered those 3 young men. We remember them today as we face the wrath of this government as it continues to plunder, as it continues to wreak havoc, as it continues to take advantage of Black people, African people in this country in a unique kind of way. As we continue to face the racist policies of the government, as we continue to witness the way in which the government is using its authority and using the state to divide or try to divide African Guyanese, while it continues to beat up on them. The assassinations of the brothers in Linden, in more recent times, the assassination of Warren Boston, Quindon Bacchus, Peter Henley, those are fresh in our minds. But this murdering of African Guyanese, young men especially, goes back. Some put the number over 400. Whatever the number is, one is too many. And today, we remember. We ask the question, how many more? How many more? How many more must die? How many more must be murdered by this government before the hands of justice preside? How many more African Guyanese young men must be murdered by this government before the international community that imposed this government on us raise their voices and their hands and say, no more, no more? How many more must die before the African Guyanese elite put their mouths straight and say, stop it, stop it? How many more must die before Indian brothers and sisters realize that today it's African Guyanese, tomorrow is going to be Amerindians, and eventually a government consumes its own, and that they should not stand idly by and allow their African brothers and sisters to be murdered and plundered? Please share the live. Please share the link. Apostle Nigel London is going to be here with me. He's a son of Linden, and he's going to be here with me to talk it through. Today, the Lindeners had a commemoration event, and I'm sure many of you would have tuned in to it. So please share the live, please share the link as we prepare for tonight's program. How many more? John King of Barbados first did that song in 1996. So it's almost 30 years old. It has become the anthem of the cries of the African people in Guyana and beyond. How many more must die? How many more? How many more?
Hear my plea, oh Jah, a song for my land. I want everybody, get up out your seats, put your hands in the air like this. Help me sing. Rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying. Another mother shedding her tears. Oh Jah, why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? So no. So many sons lost in the slaughter, blood running in these streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. No, warmongers selling death in my land, getting rich off the souls of the children. Can you tell me when will it end? Sing! How many more Jah must carry this load? Oh Jah, how many more Jah before we trot down Zion Road? Heavenly Father, won't you hear my plea? Send a helping hand for the country. In man, there's no solution. No. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh, yeah, drugs got them by the collar. How can we stop this mind pollution? Too many starving and too many hungry. Too many homeless souls in the city. It seems like there's no. Too many big shots with too much connections. Too many loopholes in Babylon system. Oh, yeah, how can your children cope? Say, how many more, yeah, must carry this load? How many more, yeah, before we trot down Zion Road? What you? Let me see those hands. Let me see the hands. If you care about our children, get up, let me see you. We can't go on each day, no. We got to find a better way. People, it's up to each of you to help our children through this cruel and torrid life, 'cause it's we who created the strife. Say, how many more times must carry this load? How many more times before we drop down Zion Road? Oh, how many more? How many more? How many more times? Hey, how many more? How many more? Oh, dear. Won't you hear my plea? I'm down on bended knees. Oh, yeah. How many more? How many more? I said I rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying, another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. How many more? How many more? How many more? How many more? Current life, 'cause it's we who created the strife. Say, how many more times must carry this load? How many more times before we drop down Zion Road? Oh, how many more? How many more? How many more times? Hey, how many more? How many more? Oh, dear. Won't you hear my plea? I'm down on bended knees. Oh, yeah. How many more? How many more? I said I rose up early this morning to the sounds of crying, another mother shedding her tears. Oh, yeah. How many more? How many more? How many more? How How many more? How many more? Thank you.
The feelings, the sentiments, John King singing there for all of us who would have lost a son, a brother, a father, the killing spree that has been visited upon us. Bob Marley, decades before, sing, yet song Johnny was. Can a woman's tender care cease the words the child she bear? Johnny was a good man, and John King extended it. Rose up early this morning to the sound of crying. Another mother shedding her tears, oh Jah. Why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? Oh no. So many sons lost in the slaughter. Blood running in the streets like water. A gun in hand knows no friend. Warmongers selling death in my land. Getting richer off the souls of we children. Can you tell me when will it end? Heavenly Father, won't you hear my plea? Send a helping hand for our country. Demand this. No salute, no solution. I'm begging for the children's future. Oh Jah, start him by the collar. Oh Jah, they're being dropped because of their color. How can we stop this mind pollution? We have to carry this load. Too many starving and too many hungry, too many hopeless souls in the city. It seems like there is no hope. No hope. How long can we carry this load? Too many big shots and too many people with much connection. Too many loopholes in Babylon system. How many more? How much longer was me endure this? Not much longer. It was Dr. Martin Luther King who said, how long? Not long. They're coming again. They're coming to use this emancipation with some dollars. And those dollars are being given to you with bloody hands. The blood of those 3 beautiful black brothers from Linden. The blood of over 400 black men are on the hands of those who are coming to you in a couple of days. They're giving you blood money. Money with the blood of your brothers on their hands. How many more? How many more? Not since the days of slavery have we, the African people, faced such peril in this land that we civilized with our own hands and our own minds. Those who came after came because we cleared the swamp. We dug the canals. We tamed the tigers and the lions. We, the Africans, created civilization out of an uncivilized space. Some tell us that George Lamin said the Indians fed us, and Lamin is right. But Lamin's son, his intellectual and political son, Walter Rodney, said the African dug the canals. How many more? How many more? If there's one brother who's prepared to stand with you and don't mince matters, it's me. This confounded nonsense must stop. And if it's going to be stopped, it's you black people who will have to stop it. And the first thing you do is to stop the murderers at the gate. But once you stretch your hand to accept their blood money, you are assassinating your brothers again. How many more? How many more, Oja? I cannot in all conscience, come to you and talk to you about voting for me or voting for us, as if all is well. All is not well for the African in Guyana. How many more, Ja? How many more? How many more? How many more? Rose up early this morning to the sound of crying, another mother shedding her tears. Oh, Jah, why all the pain and suffering? Why all the senseless killing? Could it be that nobody cares? Oh no, some of us do care. And you, the African, must care. We've been sporting and jiving for too long, as if all is well. This morning, hundreds, thousands of black mothers woke up crying for the son that was shot down last night or yesterday, crying because when they look at their children hungering. The poet Martin Carter said, I've learned from books, dear friend, of men who could not die since death was far too poor. Death was far too poor. Of men who could not sleep to dream, but dream to change this world. And so if you see me walking in your ranks or listening when you speak, know that I look for fire. I've looked for fire. Fire in your belly, so that you will not ask that question tomorrow. It was Martin Carter again who said, death must not find us thinking that we die. You cannot communion with murderers. Today, the family, the children, the mothers, the brothers, the sisters of those three beautiful black men must relive the terror of 12 years ago on this day. Nobody has to tell me about that day. I was there. Black people, I am with you. Not for your votes. I'm with you so that we can reclaim our rightful dignity that is being stolen and beaten out of us. Let us give each other strength. Mothers are mourning today. Woke up early this morning. Those of us who are Christians. Can a woman's tenderness care cease the words the child she bare? Quoted by Brother Bob. And those of us who are Anglicans, we know, shall we not love thee, mother dear? And those brothers are not able to tell their mothers, I love you, because they're gone. Life's taken away by the dancing bullets of the devil. And that devil is coming into your community tomorrow to say that they're celebrating emancipation with you. And some of you are too foolish, too licorice to understand what they're doing. As I said on this program, the PPP don't need your votes. They got enough votes because they're going to thief 5 seats. If the list is not sanitized and biometric is not there, they're already looking for 5 seats. They already got votes from manipulating the immigrants. They've already got enough votes among their Indian Guyanese community. They're going to run up that turnout to 90%. They don't need your vote. When they come into your communities, is that they are coming for your soul that they're going to take and crush and fling it in your face. That's what they're coming for. And I'm one brother. I'm making it plain. We may be helpless today, but if and when we put our hands on power again, those who let the slave master back into the black community will pay. The wheels and the hands of justice will come at them, clawing at them. Do you remember what you did? Tell them, I say that there is life after the PPP. Good evening to you, and welcome to Politics 101. My brother is waiting, and it's his show tonight. I just wanted to get my little piece in as my blood boils. My blood boils. There is life after the PPP. Make note of the slave catchers. Make note of it. Because don't press a man. Where you going to run to? You're going to be running to the sea, but the sea will be boiling. We are not cowards. Let them do their do. But don't help them to do their do. Because when that beautiful morning comes, we will not be listening to the wails and the cries of mothers anymore, because we would cleanse this land of the marauders. We shall be listening to the sobs of the marauders. I don't want them. We must not want them dead. We must want them alive, so they can answer for their betrayal of the dignity of the African. They're not house slaves. They're PPP slaves. I would not even dignify them with that term house slave, because the house slave used to give news to the field slaves. They used to give the news to the field slaves when the master moved in. Not all house slaves were house slaves. Know your history. So I am not even going to dignify them with that term house slave. They are PPP slaves. We are what we are. And that's the way it's going to be. There is life after this PPP. And I'm warning you all black people, stay out of it. Stay out of it. So that when Peter is ready, he will have to deal with multitudes. He would have to deal with the few who sold their black dignity for nothing. The gold ring and the gold chain that Ben talk about got more meaning than he letting on. Good evening, and we're ready to roll. My brother, Apostle London, I beg pardon that I took more time than I intended. But I promise you, in the spirit of brotherhood, African brotherhood, you're going to get back your time.
Greetings to you, Dr. Hines, and to those who are joining us. There is no need for you to, because certainly the passion that you have felt is a reflection of mine. The fire that I can see that burns within you is a reflection of mine, and it doesn't require my voice to express how I feel. I'm just happy that how I feel is being expressed by anyone, more so you. So thank you again.
And you're very welcome, my brother. Today, 12 years later, our three brothers have gone back to their ancestors, not in a natural way. I know we religious people like to say everything is by God design, but I am sure God did not want those brothers to go the way they did 12 years ago on this day. There are some things we attribute to God, and we sometimes are unfair to God. God could not have ordered what happened on the 12th of July, 2012. I was there, my brother.
Well, thank you. And I know that we would not be inclined to drift into more of a religious context. But I can see that from a different twist. Yahweh, because my God, the Hebrew God, has a name. Yahweh is the orchestrator and the organizer of many things which many people cannot understand. Let's look at it this way. Had the 12th, or that fateful day 12 years ago, the 18th of July, not occurred, we would have never known. And I must commit to those viewing that I'm trying my best to restrain myself as much as I can, because whenever I think of what the People's Progressive Party, and you'll hear about what Sam Hines reported the Granger's involvement in reference to negotiation they were having that resulted in what we saw, our protest. My brothers and my sisters, if that did not happen, I would have never known that human beings, Dr. Hines, can sit and say that the life of my fellow Lindeners, fellow African brothers, is worth less than a vehicle in which the ministers in government would drive to complain. That part right there, we go beyond that, but let's just have that marinate for a second. That people who ruled said that the lives of 3 young men would have been worth less. Combine that is, put the 3 together. It was not worth as much as 1 Toyota Land Cruiser Prado that our taxpayers' dollars are spent for ministers to drive around in, and they can buy it because they have duty-free concession and all the rest of it. Can you imagine? Can we really imagine the insult that we had to face? But I'm thankful to say again that the divine creator has amazing ways of revealing the minds of men to us. We would have never known that policemen of African descent would be so willing to stand and look at a crowd of people and without a second thought, probably, shoot to kill them. It's amazing what Yahweh allows us to see under certain circumstances. And all of these years have passed, and I promise, as he lives, that Barrett Jagdeo, Clement Rohi, Hicken, and all you'd better know how to pray, fast, lament, get in sackcloth and ashes, because you have to hope that I'm never given 24 hours to lead anything in reference to authority in this country, because you will pay for what you did to our people. I promise you that.
Apostle Nigel London speaking from there. Nigel, there was a ceremony in Linden today. I don't know if you were able to attend, but give us a sense of what are people saying in Linden. What is the mood there as we remember those brothers 12 years later?
Thank you. I actually wasn't able to attend because of assistance I had to render to a sister of mine who is now a widow. So my day would have been still met with service to humanity. But the sense and the tone of Linden in reference to this situation doesn't confine itself to this day or date or this period. It's amazing what has happened to us psychologically, Dr. Hines, in that whenever there is talk of a disturbance or the need for there to be some expression of our wrath and our displeasure with the way things are going in our society, that day, this day, the events that surrounded 12 years ago would always pop up in a conversation. So we didn't have to gather today to continue to bear the burden and the pain of what would have transpired 12 years ago. Lindeners have been trapped in a serious bubble of recognizing that there are people who do not care about the value of our lives and do not see us as being valuable enough to have justice, even injustice is made towards us. And that, I hope, will change in the not too distant future, because we have had 12 years to ponder on that which would have befallen our community. And 12 years later, we are still not having justice served to the lives of 3 young men. It cannot be acceptable or accepted that 3 young men's lives, and I repeat for emphasis, is worth less than even a second-hand Toyota car. Something is wrong.
My brother, you said that justice has not been served after 12 years for the murders of Ron Somerset, Shemroy Boye, and Alan Lewis. Those names, Ron Somerset, Shemron Boye, and Alan Lewis, gone down in broad daylight in the presence of their community. And 12 years later, justice has not been served. Explain for us what you mean, my brother.
I would love to do that, Dr. Hines, because justice has to be deemed to be fair. That's the average concept of justice. There has to be some fairness to it. And I am yet to hear anyone say that they're satisfied, pleased, or in agreement with that which became of this matter. There are those who would have been found to have lied, and I don't want to put it in an impolite and politically correct way. They lied. One said he was never contacted by Hicken or someone, Rohi, and it was discovered that that wasn't the case. The Commission of Inquiry lent itself to such expressions of untruths that no one may have said, but listen, given the fact that this story has so many turns and twists in it, we are going to move to the court of law to ensure that justice is served for these young men. Even more, who pulled the trigger? Who shot them? We have ballistics experts all around the place. Who killed them? And those who have done this, upon whose or by whose instruction did you do it? Guyana found itself in a frame whereby there was a commission of inquiry, and then people asked questions and interviews, and a letter and a report was given. But where in that is found justice for 3 young, strong African men who would have gone to prison as a result of this situation. Not a single soul. And I'm speaking of Guyanese vernacular here. Not a soul. Are you telling me that in the midst of a heated protest, nobody had weapons on the other side of the police, of the crowd? Nobody. So in the midst of this, policemen show up. Someone instructs them to shoot and essentially kill our brothers. And out of that, there was just a report. Is that what our lives are worth? A report and $1 million, 1 million for one, 1.5 for another one. I can't remember how much the other one got. Not even $10 million, 10 or 20 minutes altogether. No, there has to be justice served. For me, the one at the top, being Rohi, has to answer. Hicken, who was responsible for E-Division here in Linden, has to answer. They must answer. And they've not been made to answer in the right environment just yet.
Apostle Nigel London here tonight, and he's making it very clear, and it's something that we have been saying on this program. This thing is not about individuals, but is about the system. Mr. Hicken, who was on the scene in that day, early in the day approached Aubrey Norton and myself and asked us to ask the people to clear the bridge. Aubrey spoke and told him, we didn't put the people there. We cannot tell the people to remove from the bridge. He came to me by myself and he asked me, I said, what Aubrey tell you? Aubrey spoke for me.
Right.
We are here to give solidarity. And as nightfall approached, those people moved in and slaughtered. And they intended to slaughter more people.
Yep,
because
they did.
there were hundreds of people out there. And people bust and scatter, as we said. I remember being lifted bodily by the late Bad Art. I didn't know who it was at the time. But Bad Art, I was on the bridge and I heard they said, they're shooting. And I realized I was lifted and I was taken away from the scene to a safe place in 1 mile. I realized it was Bad Art who had lifted me from the scene because I might have been shot also. And so it was not just about the 3 brothers who were eventually felled, but there were hundreds of people. They shot indiscriminately into that crowd of black, beautiful people, men, women, children, old women. And you're right. It's the government. It's the government using the state apparatus. And our black brothers were willing to be trigger happy on their own brothers and sisters. And we've got to put a stop to that in this country. This is not about people from Port Morant or Bath Settlement leaving there with guns in their hand and going to Linden and shooting up black people. No, that's not what it is. This government using black men to shoot and kill their fellow black men. And we can deal with that in our community. That's we business. That's our business. Because the Hickens of this world come out of our ranks. They didn't fall from off the sky. We produced them. We didn't send them to do what they did, but we produced them. But others were able to get them and to put in their heads that a black life does not matter.
Yeah.
A black life does not matter.
And if I may, what you said is so accurate because persons were injured. I know a young lady who has a gunshot wound to her leg. It's now healed, but she's still bothered by the injury. And that's 12 years later. She still has issues with her leg. So it was not just about those who were killed. There were others who were injured in the wild bid to escape the chaos. Many people were injured, and I pondered And I'm reminded so often about how different things became when Apnoe C would have ascended to office. Because in Bath Settlement, for example, and other places, the people were running the policemen, people of Indian descent. And our police officers were running away from people. But in Linden, the police officers under the PPP's authority, Clement Rohi, looked at our people, their own people, and pulled the triggers of weapons, knowing that there would not have been a return of fire. It tells me, for one, if they're going to use live ammunition, the intention is not to just sting your skin for you to move anywhere. If you're going to shoot them at that range, you know every police officer who has a gun in their hand from TSU, wherever they came from, knows the kill range of their weapon. They know it. If you don't know, they shouldn't be in the police force. So they know exactly how far people are away from you, and when you pull the trigger, what will happen to the people. With that information, one person said to me, one person who got injured said that they noticed or they saw a short policeman stooping with a handgun and shooting, and he was in khaki outfit. This matter has got people who up until today can say, I saw, but I would not say. But I'm hoping that the day would arrive not too soon, not too far from now, when those who saw will be willing to say, because there is no closure in my book. And there should be no closure in the books of Guyanese people when it comes to the murders of our young men at the hand of the state. When the state has got elements and individuals within it who are prepared to use the power of their uniform to destroy a predominantly African community, because it was not just 3 men who were shot and those who were injured. They destroyed to a great extent the spirit of Linden. And so you do not see now protesters, or I should say you do not see yet the protesters are rising in this community to stand as strongly as they did then. But I do know that one day, there's something called resurrection. One day, Dr. Hines and Guyanese brothers and sisters, there is going to be a resurrection. There's going to be power found within the ordinary man to say, I will take no more of it. And forgive me for being religious tonight if I have to, just for a minute. But the number 12 speaks to a concept of there being enough, no more to be taken. You don't go beyond this point. And when that happens, the old people say, tell truth.
My brother, here tonight, we are reflecting 12 years later after the murders and the attempt to shoot an entire community by men in uniforms of brutality, Bob Marley called them. Yeah. Black men like me, like brother London, and like so many of us. And when those same black men went into Bath Settlement under a black government, which did not order them to shoot. In fact, Mr. Granger ordered that during the election period, policemen must not carry arms.
Exactly.
Difference in quality, a difference in how they see humanity. One side ordering them to kill, another side saying, your purpose is not to kill. And in the end, it was black policemen running away from the people of Bath. Some of them were injured.
Yes.
Children were stoned.
Yes.
In the bus. And some people on the other side, some people like the Ravi Devs and the Beto Ramrak of this world pretend that that didn't happen.
Exactly.
Pretend that that didn't happen. My brother and Menta Eusi Kwayana said, there's no guilty race in racial
No.
warfare. But those brothers over there who know better, because they're glad that this PPP is practicing Indian supremacy, they're pretending that what happened in Bad Settlement and Luziknan never happened.
Didn't happen. Exactly. That's so true. And Dr. Hines, to add to the insult to what Lindeners would have faced, I like to present to you the fact that they were pastors, they were what are called ministers of the gospel. You were there.
Yes.
On that fateful day. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that even with men of the cloth being present, the criminal and the debased-minded people would say, go to Linden, draw your weapons and shoot. Then they would now turn around to say, we are one Guyana, we one people, we love you all, we are caring government. I would therefore reinforce why I say what I say, that in the light of these circumstances, this current crop, from Jagdio's day up until today, they can never speak to me or for me about caring and about being kind, nice, and generous to African descendants. They are disqualified based on their conduct towards African descendants for over a decade. It is evident, it is glaring that these people have concluded that all that we are worth is just a few dollars and we shall shut our mouths. And I would that our African brothers and sisters return to having some degree of decency, morality, and courage to understand that you have to be worth more than the insults of these people. It is insulting to say to you that we would do whatever we want to do in their minds and just give you something and you shut your mouths. We have lost 3 young men. You see on the screen, someone lost their eye, someone got shot in the leg, others got injured in other parts of their bodies, and this PPP clan did not see to it that anyone went to prison. Understand that. But over an election period, please help me, bear with me here. Please help, bear with me here.
Go right ahead.
Over votes, X on a paper, they said, Lowenfield must go to jail, Myers must go to jail, Mingo must go to jail, and they were so desperate. Barrett said the court is playing around with votes. And when the chance came for them to show, look, and let's go to court and show the whole world, of course, you know what happened. They don't want the petitions to be heard. But in reference to the lives of our people, no one was pressed and put before the court. What does that tell you, African descendants? What does that say to you as you approach what you call your emancipation? What does it tell you about how other people view you in reference to your worth? Huh? You worth less than what? An election argument? That's what they see you as? You're not worth anything? So they prefer to fight as much as they can to get your brothers and sisters in the court, just to make a point for elections. But they're not prepared to say that those who would have wantonly shot and killed, murdered people, are harmless people, deserve to be brought to justice. This is a night for us to reflect on the value of us as a people and how devalued we are by others as a people. It's important to pay attention to that.
It's very important for us to pay attention to that. And we are talking to our people. We are talking to you, African Guyanese, you Black people. We are talking to you. Those of you who have young sons and daughters who are falling for this nonsense, warn them, pull them away, because this is not going to continue forever. African people in Guyana are human beings, and human beings will react like human beings when enough is enough. Enough is enough. And I am afraid that this government wants a configuration because they feel confident that the black men in uniform are going to stand with them in order to annihilate their black brothers and sisters. That's what they're banking on. The ball is in your court. And as my brother is saying here tonight, there may be some politicians who just want to pimp off you all for a few votes here and there. But there's some of us who ain't doing that.
No.
There's some of us who not pimping off you all black people. When we talk black, we mean seriousness.
You see, Dr. Hines, I value who I am. I value the culture that I represent. As a Hebrew person, I value the history attached to who I am. And when I observe, you see, and I hope that I can, as best as I possibly can, present to especially the younger generation an understanding of what you're dealing with. When you hear about Canal number 1, Canal number 2, Lamaha Canal, when you're on Main Street and you see the canal between Main Street and Avenue Republic, I think it is. Listen to me, people, please. Hear me. Think of yourself. Don't go back to history. Think of yourself, young man, with a shovel in your hand, in the blazing sun, rain, whatever else it is, wherever it is, digging 20 feet wide canals, 8 to 10, sometimes 12 feet deep canals, with just a shovel in your hand for miles. And if you're tired, you're not allowed to sit. Think of yourself when you see those canals, and then realize that this actually happened, and hear me carefully, please, to you. For I believe as a father, if you're a father, you carry your generations in your loins. Whatever our fathers went through, we went through it. And that is why I speak with such passion, Dr. Hines, because I do not sense this as though somebody else suffered this. I suffered it. And if my great, as they want to call them, my foreparents did not have a chance to be redeemed and to have due recompense for what they suffered, at least I'll make an effort to ensure that they get it. And I'm saying that nobody in this world called the PPP can stand in my face and make me devalue who I am as a person, and my culture as a more so, and my people. So you could call me what you want, those who are viewing on the other side. You can say what you want to say. I'm racist, you call me what you want. I love my culture. Period.
Well said here by your brother tonight. Pastor London, we can segue into a related development. And that is, we heard of a senior police officer who apparently deposited a large sum of money. Then his senior, the commissioner, said no money was deposited. Then, as it turned out, the money was deposited. Clearly, there's something going on there. He has been sent on leave, and that he is being investigated by his own. So there's that. Then a couple of days later, the Minister of Home Affairs went to a symposium and berated the ordinary ranks of the police force, from the commanders down to the sergeants and corporals and so on, for taking bribe, in effect saying the police force is corrupt. In the process, he disassociated his government and his government culture of corruption, which was skinned up by the Americans when they said somebody no less than a permanent secretary was involved in corruption. And we know permanent secretaries don't act on their own.
Correct.
But here is Mr. Ben saying corruption to the police ranks. And then this morning we heard they stopped 2 soldiers who using a soldier vehicle to fetch ganja, and they arrest them. So it seems to me that corruption cannot be avoided anymore. The government cannot pretend. They will call up, bring the evidence, bring the evidence. When they get the evidence in, you know what? And so now what they're trying to do is to say it's not we, it's them little boy in the police. It's them little boy in the police. It's them black boy under the clock at big market. It's them little boy in the army who fetching drugs. Not we. It's them little black boy. Am I crazy? Am I engaging in conspiracy theory, or am I for real?
Well, I must say that when it was said that those who assassinated Dr. Martin Luther King would have been in cahoots with the CIA, they said that's conspiracy theory. It was absolutely untrue. It's crazy. The CIA would not be involved in that. Then years later, we discovered that it was actually the CIA that would have been involved, intricately involved in that assassination. I'm saying that to say that when we assess the situation of our state, of our nation, I would not be surprised at Robeson Ben's utterances. Actually, he's found a voice. He hasn't been saying anything for quite a while. Maybe he's been now let loose to say a few things, and it's not only in the line of what he was spoken, what he would have said. Brother, if the U.S., after careful investigation, it said more than 2 years, and it's been long and maybe more than that, arrived at the conclusion that government officials are corrupt, and then I noticed that there's some officials who are not even wanting to touch. I'm talking about cabinet members now. They don't want to travel to the USA for anything in this world. You can pay them $10 million US, they're not going to go on a plane to go. I need Robeson Ben to tell us why they're not, some of them, eager to travel to the US. If they're so innocent and their hands are so clean, why don't you just show up there and let's have a wonderful experience in reference to what's happening? But I would say to you, in reference to the members of the Guyana Police Force, and I don't like that terminology in itself. They need to inform us as to the process involved. Because when I look at the salary scale, when I look at what they earn, just as was the case with many ministers, when I look at what you earn, there has to be a particular time that would elapse before you can acquire certain things. And it's normally when you are out of what they call the force and you're dead. That's how poor your police officers are paid. So for anyone to be able to show up with a wedding present, a wedding gift of $15 million to be deposited, and for others to be in possession of certain houses and buildings and so on, we have to ask the question, from where do you get it? And the culture of our society, the culture, especially with the PPP, is never to see the small man thrive on bribery. There is no one I know in the PPP cabinet who would watch little black boys make hundreds of millions of dollars in bribes and say, okay, y'all enjoy yourself, you wouldn't touch it. The only thing that keeps them silent is their participation and them being able to earn more than you. I would say this without reservation or without any degree of fear. Jagdeo has still been unable to name 3 African men who he caused to be one step below him in terms of wealth. He would never do it. It's not within their nature as racist people to say, I'll get you up to a particular class so you can mingle with us. So for the bottom feeders, as they call them, to have so much money in their hands, it tells me that those at the top must be enjoying life. Because when I look at what the ministers have acquired, I've asked Priya Manichan to please inform us, because she's a servant of the state. She serves us. You know, big girl here. Tell us if you have houses and condos in Windsor Estate. You can't answer me yet. Tell the Guyanese people, because on a minister's salary, you can't afford to have a $56 million condo on whatever else it is. So tell us how, tell us if that's the case. You see, this is what we have to do. We must cause those servants, and I'm using language on purpose tonight for Guyanese to understand what they are. They are called political servants of the people. They don't rule me. And they have to serve. But I've not taken note of this matter with the GDF today as well, as we hear. I have seen the names of 2 Africans mentioned today, right here, today. Today, two Africans, they said in this matter, their names are splashed across the media. But in other instances, it's reported when it's Indo-Guyanese, as they call them, two people, two individuals, no ethnicity even mentioned. An individual was intercepted with an unlicensed firearm. An individual was. And it takes us, me and others, in many cases, maybe you saying, don't they have names?
That's right.
A husband and a wife were today held for murdering an officer. Didn't they have names? How could it be that you can be so rash and so quick to mention the names of the African descendants? But on the other side, depending on who they know, it's just an individual, two individuals, some people, a few folks. Give us the names of everybody if we're going to start naming people, because that is also a sign of corruption and racism.
A sign of corruption and racism. We are discussing here tonight the developments as it relates to the police force, and the Minister of Home Affairs, Mr. Robeson Ben, talking about corruption in the police force and men wearing gold and gold chain. I wonder what happened to them in the PPP who just wear gold chain and gold ring. He's saying that is a sign that you're taking bribe. Well, maybe them with gold chain and gold ring in the government, it must be a sign that they're taking bribe. Pastor, Apostle, if you want the police force to be your political tool, to defend you against the resistance of those who you oppress, that you get them to go out and be trigger happy on their own people, then you are obviously have to give them something. And what you give them is that you turn a blind eye to them, hustling a little $4,000, $5,000 a day, a little couple of thousand a year. In the case of the big man, is millions. But when you compare that, as you said, to what they are getting, because you are busy, instead of prosecuting those who engage in official corruption, you are busy shaking down people, then they go scot-free. So in exchange for them using you, allowing you to engage in petty corruption, you are prepared to gun down your brothers and sisters. That's my theory, my brother. Talk to me.
There is a very dangerous chain and linkage between corrupt government officials and what are called law enforcement people. And as you've rightly put it, if we to go to, if I'm go to the street tonight, and the people, even if I stand alone and I begin to say certain things, the law enforcement circles will send boys and say, go to him and do this and do that. And that instruction would come clearly from an understanding that the big boys want this to happen. And so for there to be a willingness on the part of police officers who know better, they know better, but they also understand that in order for them to survive and thrive in an environment, they have to be allowed to do certain things, and they have to act as though they are willing to have this thing happen. So we have got agents in the PPP who I know, cabinet ministers who I know, who are ready and willing at any time to make the call for the little, especially black boys, to get weapons and head to whichever area it is and do whatever they're told, because the excuse is we got instructions from higher up. Are you to tell me that the corrupt government officials, quoting the US Treasury, the corrupt government officials are going to be so strict against corruption that the Guyana Police Force members would be discouraged from engaging in any activity that is considered to be nefarious, when we both know, or we should all realize, that when you look at even the houses in which some of the police officers live, who support the PPP, it tells you again that they cannot afford to do this on their salary. And they're not allowed to do certain business given the fact that they're police officers. So how will they get the money?
Mhm.
And if someone shows up to the credit union to deposit $15 million, $15 million, according to the report, how was there not an alarm raised to say, hello, I'm making a report because somebody came here and according to the Anti-Money Laundering Act, this has happened. But the wedding gift, but it cannot be any other way, because when you have got political appointments and strategies being made so that certain faces could represent in the police force, this is what you have to live with. So Robson Man cannot talk to me. He never would, and he cannot.
Apostle Nigel London here tonight. We are talking about reports on police corruption. Dr. Mr. Robson Ben laid it out today, yesterday, the day before, talking about corruption in the police force and how terrible it is. And this is unique to the police force. And, zeroing in, and they're wearing gold chain. And then he said, when you go to the big market, if you look like you're going to get robbed and killed. If you don't look like you're going to get robbed and killed. Mm-hmm. So black people there waiting for Indians and Amerindians to come to kill them. That is what that man, whose name, and I know that he daddy give you the name Robson, of a great African, an African who never surrendered his dignity, Paul Robson, whose passport was taken away by the American government, and he fought and fought. He was named after that man. Paul Robson will never sell his soul to the devil. He will never condemn his own people, as Mr. Robson Ben said. If you don't look like me, they will kill you. Feeding into the old stereotype of black people just waiting to kill Indian people. My brother, black skin, white masks, Frantz Fanon, long before Robson Ben, he peeped the Robson Bens of this world. Ain't it so?
It is so. And for us to say that Robson Ben should resign based on the insult, again, it's not a waste of time, but it'll be an exposure of what we're dealing with. Because there is no one in the ministry or who sits in the seat of Minister of Home Affairs who should be allowed to utter such reckless nonsense at the peril yet again of the Africans. What are we, man? I might as well lose it right now. What else are we supposed to see as Guyanese? What else in terms of insult are you supposed to hurl at us? For us to see that the PPP, don't care who they are, doesn't matter who they are just disrespectful to African descendants. That's the bottom line. If you're going to tell me as the ministry responsible for security in my country, that if the only people who are not robbed are black people.
Yeah.
If you say that in the midst of this society, what message are you sending to us? No, you see, he want to say he's sending a message to the white person or to the Indian man and to the Amerindian man and Chinese man. But what are you sending? What message are you sending to me? Are African descendants not robbed? But you see, when you've got people who have got to be slaves to thrive in a political environment of this nature, they cannot even speak with a clear conscience to their own convictions. He cannot do it. So it seems as if the new norm now is for them to say the worst that they could possibly say, be it directly or indirectly, maybe it has to be implied in some way, as it is often the case, about African descendants. Because it must be now the norm that the worse you make African people feel in this country and Hebrew people feel, the better you'll be within the PVP. I've drawn that conclusion. that the new card to get your way up the ladder and to remain in the good books of Jaggi and others is to just make black people feel bad. But I'm telling you all again, we are never made. There is no way in which Hebrew people, as they call some of them call African people, are ever naturally inclined to sit back forever and take anything. Because people aren't meant to be like that. No human being is made to function under pressure forever.
No human beings. My brother, our time is running out. Anything that you wanted to say that I did not ask you about, that you want to leave with us?
I'm certainly grateful for the opportunity, as always, Dr. Hines, and like Mr. Benchtop, you are certainly able to call me or reach out to me at any time, at the last minute, and I'll do whatever I can to ensure that I avail myself for us to engage in conversations. And I must say that I commend you yet again, and it is my hope that you are multiplied in reference to numbers and representing who you are and what you stand for, because we are at a very critical juncture in our society. And that place is in which we have got the right as a people to begin to speak louder to our culture, to our rights, to our privileges, because we do have privileges in Guyana. We have them, and we were afforded them. And when I think of this situation we discussed initially, the murder of our 3 young men and the maiming and injuring of many others, females included, I would like to encourage Lindeners especially, whether you are still within the town or you're out of town, to remember and reflect on the fact that a political group had every intention of slaughtering you over a bridge being blocked. Therefore, whenever they arrive with any other song being sung, please remember the refrain of the previous one, that they were prepared to slaughter you over a bridge being blocked, and they did not care how many of you, including you pastors, who normally quiet, including you, they don't care how many of you would have been killed on that night. My mother and father could have been killed during that same period. I would never forget the evil that a man presents to me until he repents of that evil. And unless and until they repent of that evil, I shall continue to hold it against them. With that said, I thank you, Dr. Hines, yet again for this opportunity. And to the viewers, I appreciate your engaging me. Thank you.
And thank you, my brother. Thank you always for coming through for us. And to you, our viewers, our brothers, our sisters, keep the faith, because faith will lead us through. Without faith, we are lost. But faith alone cannot take us out of the hell that they are trying to shove us back into, the hell of the plantation. We've got to toughen up, and we've got to begin to do the work that has to be done. Work in our family, work in our families, work in our communities, work on our children, to warn them of what is being done to us, and to beg them, to plead with them, and sometimes to holler on them that they must not collude with those who are trying to drive us back onto the slave plantation. We come in peace as usual, and we talk our peace, but peace without equal rights and justice, as Brother Peter Tosh reminds us, peace without equal rights and justice is a hollow peace. It's really not peace. Peace will only be peace when there's equal rights and justice. That is our plea. That is our objective. We come to you to say, you are of us and we are of you. We are brothers, we are sisters, we are family. The black family, some of us, most of us, but we are also the righteous family of the opposition. That includes people of other ethnicities who have the courage to say that this thing that we have as government is evil and part company with it openly. They are our brothers too. You are our brothers and sisters too. So it's the African Brotherhood, and then the brotherhood of all of us who stand up against injustice. Tomorrow night, we come back to continue to speak truth to power, to speak justice to injustice, and to say we ain't backing down and we ain't falling for nonsense. Good night. Good night. Good night. Until tomorrow night.